three individuals that need no introduction. Amanda Vandervort is the president of the Super League. Christina Unkel has many multitude of roles, but one being the SRA of the Florida State Referee Committee, which gives her the power to hire any referee in the entire state of Florida. So happy to have both Amanda and Christina here. And Danita, thank you as well for being here. Danita Johnson is the president of business operations with DC United. Again, I'm Rachel Lasala, managing director with Women in Soccer, pronouns she, her. While we get Christina to join us on stage here, I will give the floor to Danita to just say a quick hello, and then Amanda, if you just want to say hello after Danita, and then we'll get Christina up here and we'll kick off our panel.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining. Thank you again for having me. Excited to talk about what we're doing here at DC United and share a little bit about my journey. So looking forward to this morning to start off the day for everybody.
Thanks so much, Danita. We're so thrilled to be able to have you join us. It's been incredible to watch what you've done over the last year at DC. Amanda, please.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Women in Soccer. Rachel, it's so good to be here with you and see your sunshiny face this bright morning. Congratulations on the job fair and this exciting week. And it's so cool to see so many people in the room this morning. It's great. Hi, Danita. It's good to see you too. And I'm excited to have Christina in here as well. But it's nice to see you guys. Amanda Vandervort. For those of you I don't know, I'm Amanda Vandervort. I'm the president of the USL Super League, which is a new women's professional soccer league kicking off in 2023, just after the Women's World Cup. We are also kicking off the W League, which is our pre-professional property for amateur players. Kicks off May 6th, actually, and the countdown clock in front of me is down to 16 days. That's right.
No pressure, totally calm in the USL HQ, I'm sure, but we have such confidence that you all are going to crush it. As an official partner of the USL, we are, and the W League specifically, we are so stoked for that to go live. And you can expect to be seeing some fun banter across the Women in Soccer social media channels through the end of April and the beginning of May to shout about the W League divisions and the clubs and all that they have ongoing. So we are really stoked and really excited for that to kick off. And then the Super League is right around the corner. I know I don't want to put too much pressure in thinking of it all building up in one moment, but we do have a tight schedule here today. I will just remind everyone, if you have any questions for our panelists, there is a Q&A tab. Please, I recommend you put any of those questions in there. We will do our best to get to a couple of them if we have time at the end of the panel. Again, we are going to hear from Amanda, Danita, and Christina on what it means to hire change makers and what these executive leaders are thinking when hiring today. So I know we will get Christina up here. We've prevailed in the tech space so many a times, but I will get us moving just so that way we can stay on schedule and stay on time and respect all of our experts that are joining us today. So Danita, I will hand it to you first, and I'll hand this to each of you, Amanda. So you'll go next here, and then hopefully by that point we'll have Christina up here too. But right, both of you in these new positions, in these new roles, and Christina as well from the SRA perspective with the Florida State Referee Committee. How are you building teams and finding candidates, Danita?
Yeah, I think, for me, one, it's about casting a wide net. I think we all typically start within our networks on a lot of things that we do, but even for me, just like casting those wide nets from like different platforms such as LinkedIn, Teamwork Online, other areas of making sure we're posting our jobs in unique places. And depending on the role, making sure that, job boards that deal with marketing, job boards that deal with like content production, like making sure that we're casting a wider net. And the reason I want that and the reason I try to do that is because I just don't want to hire the same people over and over again. I want different thought. I want different perspective and different background that's a part of our team and our club. And so when I look for that, I look for diversity of thought and background in the people that we bring on board. And what I try to do is take all these little pieces that people have, right? All the pieces of them, and kind of meld them together within a team versus being like, I have to have one person that has everything. I want a team that can kind of build off of each other and learn from one another. So if somebody's strong in one area and another person can add to that same area through their strengths, we start to see the people to excel. And they always feel like they're learning and growing, because a lot of times when people leave jobs or they change roles, they really want to make sure that, you know, it's in a moment where they feel like they've been stopped or they're not learning any further or being challenged. So we want to create like a challenging work environment for people to always be learning and growing from one another.
Amazing, Danita. Thank you so much. That is the essence of this conversation, right? Ensuring we can increase the diversity of thought. Amanda.
Yeah, the truth is Christina Unkel just got to my office. So that's what I'm talking. I'm trying to convince her to come in here, but she wanted to sit at a computer out there. So so that's what's happening.
The world of women in soccer, the world of soccer will pull us into all of the same environments at all different times. We welcome you and Christina to share a screen if that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm trying to get her in here. We're going to talk about referees today. I wanted her to I've invited her into the office to talk about what is the future of refereeing and how do we create opportunities through the USL in particular to get more women referees. So and we had actually scheduled that. Maybe we scheduled this first. I don't know. Somehow we were like, wow, we're on the same panel on in the morning. Let's figure it out. So I think she got stuck in traffic and then learned in traffic that she couldn't do this thing on her mobile. So that's just for everyone watching. Christina is actively excited to be here, I'm sure, but that's what's happening. So listen, I mean, Danita, like such a I think comprehensive response to getting the word out. I'll add, and I think based on a lot of my own experience, being in spaces where the people who do what I want to do or how I want to affect the world, like I try and get myself into those spaces, and that's for me how I've found jobs over time. Hey. Hi, Christina.
Hi, all.
You made it. Look, she's in front of the sign we made her out front.
I am. They made me a beautiful sign here at ESL HQ. So
it's up. It's it's about 100 yards that way. So, Christina, I'll see you in a minute. Welcome to the office.
Thanks.
The question, Christina, the question is, how do you go about hiring for your, for your organization, right? And Danita had a great answer about, about making sure that we're distributing jobs, the job spec in kind of all unique different places. And then also looking for diversity of thought, diversity of experience, the people you're hiring. So I'm going to add to that is like networking. So we love women in soccer. We host women in soccer events like we did at our winter summit. I go to events where people who are interested in careers in soccer and women's soccer in particular are, where we're networking, where we're learning, we're advancing our own thought leadership and our own, ability to affect change in this, in this sport and in this world. Because that's where I find, I often find great leads of candidates who would be interested in working with us. So, and I'll add, we're in a place here at the USL as we're launching the Super League and we're launching the W League. And we're growing the USL ecosystem, both men's and women's soccer across this country, where we're going to, and I mean, we have 44 new teams that just this year in the W League, in the pre-professional space. Next year, we'll at least double women's professional soccer opportunities in this country with 10 to 12 teams launching in 2023. So do keep your eyes on the job board, especially like Teamworks Online is where we post everything. Because you'll start to see a lot more jobs come up in the USL ecosystem and specific to women's soccer in the coming years.
We are so pumped for the influx of jobs that the USL is bringing into the soccer industry. Amanda, thank you so much. Christina, we want to hear from you. We're so stoked you've made it. Thanks for popping in and making it possible. But please tell us, from the perspective of the referee in your new role, how are you looking at hiring? We could talk about the referee ecosystem and the hiring for a long time. I know we've spoken offline and in different segments and sessions throughout the Women in Soccer programming about what the referee world needs, especially with respect being a huge component of that. But tell us a little bit right now about what you're looking at when it comes to hiring and building that referee team in and around the Florida state.
Yeah, I'm in a very interesting kind of position of where I'm at, because the types of people that I'm looking for range all the way from the ages of 13 all the way to truly I'm working with people at the ages of 60 who are providing mentoring. So I'm spanning probably close to effortlessly 4 different generations, truly, of the people that I am working with. And ideally, we like to get the referees in at the ages of 13 years old, which is as early as they can possibly be, and trying to keep them as soon as they turn 17, 18, and they move off to college, and trying to encourage them and inspire them that they can still continue to officiate while they're in the collegiate world. And that is essentially spanning between the ages of 17 to 23. And then they enter into their professional capacity, which is their life, colleagues, right, families, et cetera. We have this other burden that we have to, this other, I wouldn't say burden or obstacle, but this other challenge that we have of how do we keep them engaged during a professional career portion of their lives where they're making this decision, you know, and many of them, right, are, at least for us, in order to make this a full-time job, that's very, very hard to do. It's a smaller number. It's going to grow. We have USL here growing the numbers of soccer in this, you know, inside of this country, which is exciting. We have MLS who continues to grow teams, and we have to increase our number of contracted referees who are actually getting, you know, those who get contracted over 6 figures between game fee and regular. So there is a career there to be had. But when we talk about the 90% of officials that need to service the game from the semi-professional all the way down to the grassroots level, that's such a huge number that we have to keep engaged from that, so that we can pick to make our quote unquote first team, our second team, you know, our bench and whatnot. So it's been very fascinating to step into this role and to see this. And I tell people all the time, and back when I was coming up about 10, 15 years ago, you know, I would say to other female referees, like, hey, you know, if you're going to have a kid or a career, you can always come back, or we'll take you. We barely have any women officials. Now I'm able to say that to all officials, like, go do your career, take a quick break, and come back when you're ready, because everyone's wanting a qualified official to be on the game. So ours spans quite a bit. And I always tell people to show up. Right? Similar to the athletes, you might have an off season this year. That's okay. Show up, get plugged in. We'll find a way to, if you're having an off season, get you some training so that you're back onto the horse in the appropriate manner. So we do range quite a bit. And, you know, anyone who wants to stay engaged in the game at every kind of level, right? You don't have to be that FIFA or pro referee. You could be a national referee, you could be a state referee. You can always give back to the beautiful game.
Showing up is everything when it comes to hiring on both sides of the coin. Thank you so much, Christina. We're so excited for the opportunities that are ahead inside of the refereeing world, and how many folks inside this network can look at the game and see so many different job opportunities. It's one thing that I think we often forget. You know, if we finish playing, or if soccer was early, we were early in our lives connected to soccer, we sometimes forget how much it can sustain a career, a profession, and then getting into it, whether you're, you know, you've been playing and you've been grinding in the women's game, or if you've been working in the front offices of clubs, and you're looking to make some moves, or if you're coming out of college and you studied sports journalism or sports management. You might not always see yourself in that space, especially as a woman, especially people of color, especially people who come from marginalized backgrounds of all different types. And I think age is another relevant space there. As you're touching on, Christina, you're interacting with folks at such an early age, and they might not always see every one of their 13-year-old buddies out there stepping up to referee in their free time. They'd rather be off doing something else. So when we're looking at this pool of candidates and we're looking to make the industry more inclusive, more welcoming for the likes of all of these different types of incredible, passionate individuals, what what are we doing to motivate them? And I know that we're talking about hiring, and from all of your positions, you're in a hiring role, but you're also leading a team. And whether you're doing the direct hiring or your team is doing that direct hiring, they need to find that motivational skill within, motivational push inside of their team. So is there a tip, or is there a way that you are motivating your teams today, or you're planning on motivating your teams as you build them, as you all step into these really pivotal roles in the game? And I'll start with Amanda, and then I'll hand it to Danita. And please, if there's something that someone picks off of, don't hesitate to jump in. We like when it's a conversational. So yeah, what's a motivational tip that we're seeing inside of team leadership right now?
Well, motivation comes in so many different forms for so many different people, right? We're all motivated by different areas. But for us and for myself, as a team leader, I think a lot about having clarity in direction and making sure that everyone's on the same page about what we're looking to achieve and accomplish, right? So if inclusion is a core value of ours, then how is everyone laddering up to be a part of that? And knowing that that's a core value. So when they choose to work here and they choose to take a job with us, they're stepping into an organization that they understand and know, what our core values are and what we're looking to achieve. So that's probably where I would start.
Core values, getting that in from the ground running is so pivotal. Thanks so much, Amanda. Danita.
Yeah, just to add to it, it's just structure and process. When you have that, it gives people room to actually do the work that they can do. So being ahead where people aren't always having to do things last minute is really important, because they don't have time to think. They don't have time to be at their best selves. And from a leadership standpoint, if you don't create an environment that gives people that, they always feel like they're on edge. They always feel as if nothing is ever going to be the thing, or it can't be great because they don't have time to make it great. We all have last minute things that happen, but I think structure and process are so important because it really does help for opportunity to grow and development of people. And from a leadership standpoint, that's what we should be providing. And if we're not, we got to reevaluate ourselves as leaders.
So well said. That constant growth process as a leader is what makes the best leaders. Structure and process.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I love that. A self-evaluation, like self-reflection of our own leadership is a core part of being able to lead others. I love that, Danita.
If I could jump off, because I think, my response would be taking both of those and putting it together. So kind of anytime I'm taking over a new organizational team, to Amanda's point, core values, are more than just something that you put in a pretty graphic and you throw on the wall and everyone walks by and taps it, right? Like it's got to be more than that. And then that runs into Danita's point is, the core value is something that allows your team to make decisions in that moment where you're not able to have a meeting to talk about what decision we're making, right? Where it empowers your team to be able to make that to make that actual game day decision. For me, it truly is a game day decision for my officials. And for our core values at Florida Soccer Referees is essentially two things for me from an organizational structural point is going back to that component of respect, not just respect for an official to a player and a player to an official or coach, vice versa, but respect within our referee ecosystem. Having that value piece to it, right? We're not all going to agree, but it doesn't mean we don't have to disagree in a disrespectful way, right? There's a constructive way to have great and hard conversations. And then our second core value is access, which I think comes down to that transparency component that Amanda hit on, is effectively if we have access, and that might be access to opportunities, that might be just the plain fact of transparency is saying, how do I ride the ladder? Like, how do I increase my experiences and my skills? With those two concepts, I've empowered my team to say effectively, when you're making a decision, whether it's within the structure of the organization and or in the selection of a referee, those are the two guideposts for you, is access and transparency, access and respect. And I think that kind of helps guide their decisions because there's way too many moving pieces in my organization that is very cultural as well too, and it can depend. Trust me, Miami is a lot different than what I call Southern Alabama, aka the Panhandle. So having those two different kind of components allows our team to be able to make a little bit more they may not be the greatest decision, but at least they're not far off in that respect.
It's there are so many good tidbits coming out of this. So I hope everyone is writing and jotting and getting everything down, from core values, instilling them from the ground running, process and systems, giving people that structure, coming from that operations mindset. And then of course, access and respect. How are we tying those things together? We have a few minutes left here, and something that consistently comes to mind is how the industry is evolving and developing new roles, finding ways to bring positions into the ecosystem that are bettering processes, are bettering team dynamics and the way we live up to our values, are bettering policies and how we are implementing policies that uphold respect, policies that uphold really what it means to be inclusive. All of us here come from so many different walks of life and backgrounds, and we're at different timelines of our careers, be it the speakers on this call and everyone that is watching. So as leaders at the top, having built so much incredible expertise underneath you, what's one thing you've done or one thing you're doing when it comes to breaking the mold, to doing something differently? You all sit in these positions today because you're looking at building teams and hiring in an inclusive lens in a way that hasn't been done before. So maybe what's something that's upcoming? Get us hyped up, and I don't know, give us away your secrets if you can, but no, of course not. Everyone's competitive and building the edge. So maybe give us one thing you hope to see in the industry, or one thing that you might be able to discuss that you're doing that changes the game a little bit in the name of breaking the mold and living by inclusivity when it comes to team building. Anyone can jump in.
Sure, I'll go first. I think for me, one, and I won't give away the whole piece of it, but I've completely restructured how we do meetings. So like how we meet internally is very different than like traditional meeting formats. How we discuss projects, where people at every level have an opportunity to be involved in our project-based rooms of all the key projects that we work on for the year. So I think it starts from within. That's one of my big things, right? All of the things from the outside world, accolades, whatever. But what really matters is how the people feel that come here and work every single day. And so creating an inclusive environment within that. And so that's where you have kind of like seats at the table across the board in different areas to have impact and influence will become reflective of what we do externally. But if we can represent and do that internally, so from our meeting structures and our project-based things, which are our key initiatives that we work on throughout the year, we've changed our full format of that. That promotes inclusivity and of thought and people at all levels. And, one of my favorite quotes is, it's not about title, it's about action and example. And so the titles don't matter in those rooms. It's about what people can bring to the table and having their thoughts included. So I'm excited for that. We've been working on that, and we kind of started that process about 2 months ago. And you see the work and the project starting to thrive, and like the involvement of people at different levels being a part of that. And so it's an exciting piece for us.
Yeah, and I'll jump in here because I want Amanda to have the last word. And like for us, it's the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, right? And that is unfortunately what we've been doing in our world. And I know it's not just akin to the referee industry or the referee ecosystem, but that happens in corporate quite a bit. And it's not that we're challenging in a negative context, the structure that is in place prior to. It's more of kind of what I like to say is, ask questions like a child, not childish questions, but if anyone's had a kid or if anyone's had a niece or a nephew or whatnot, and they just ask them like, why? And they genuinely are interested and care, and they want to know the purpose or the reasoning behind it, the why, because once they understand the why, then they have purpose and they understand what it is that they're doing, why they're doing it. And that might be like from the millennials and down who are really, intent about the why. Those are the types of things that regardless of where you are within the organization, whether you're at the top or if you just stepped in, right? And truly to also tell those who just stepped in where I've heard this before, like, hey, like seriously, question, ask why we do things like this, present topics and ideas, really listen to those, because even if those aren't proper at the moment and that might just upheaval, the entire structure, there may be a component of that might help build on later, right? We put it in the parking lot idea and we start to develop it. So those are the two things that, focused on in the referee world, because we haven't from the international level all the way down to the domestic or the grassroots level have asked those questions. Why is it that we do it? Why we do And why aren't we trying something different if right now isn't what's working? And that's kind of created an opportunity, and I think an excitement within just the team, but also those who we service, which are memberships, which are referees, assessors, instructors, are getting excited because it's something different, right? And we're given the reason why prior to giving a certain policy or direction so that they understand what it is that we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing.
I'm hoping that by the end, Danita reveals her secret sauce for making meetings better, because I'm taking all the tips I can on making a meeting more engaging. My staff is also asking, get the secrets. So we'll have a follow-up. I've never had a job that anyone before me has had. So outside of coaching, I was a college coach at NYU. I was the head women's coach there for a number of years. But outside of that, whether I was a director of social media, whether I was a chief women's football officer at FIFPro, or now the president of the USL Super League, I've never had a role that anyone has had before me. So I'm a builder and I'm a creator. And I think that we often get stuck in these spaces of traditional job roles. And in the women in soccer community, I think we can all recognize that a lot of them are built on the way men's soccer or men's sport or infrastructure has been built traditionally in sport before women's sport kind of has started to evolve, right? And so I think I like to identify the gaps, or the spaces that might look a little unconventional or a little different, and find unique ways to fill those. So the example I'll give on what we've done here so far at the USL is we identified that at the league level, there's a gap in sporting knowledge. So who is caring for the athletes across the league? Who's caring for the coaches? Who's thinking about coach mentorship, development, player pathways, moving from amateur to professional soccer within the American soccer ecosystem? So we went on a full search and hired Dr. Missy Price, who was most recently the president of United Soccer Coaches. She's now our vice president of women's soccer, and her role is specifically to build programming, assess assess our clubs and our leagues, and then develop the programming and, put it in place to ensure that we have a league where players want to play, coaches want to coach, executives and administrators want to be part of this league. And it started with us noticing that there is a fundamental missing piece to sporting development and player care at a league level. So that I find those gaps, and then I fill them, but making sure that we're filling them with people who come. She's a coach. She's played, she was in the NCAA Final Four as a player. She comes from that background, and that's what drives her and motivates her. And so putting her in a space now that's never been created in women's professional sport to really thrive and build something that looks unique, special, and different.
Thank you so much, all three of you. This has been such a treat. I mean, to say the least. Amanda, kind of kicking off from what you just said, never having always been in a role outside of the NYU coaching job that is just coming into the forefront. What immense, what a testament to you and what you're capable of. So we are so excited to see everything that is unfolding at the USL. Of course, we're biased as a partner, but we can't wait to support everything you're doing. Look for the gaps. Great piece of advice. Christina, thank you so much for being here with us, for pushing the referee ecosystem to continue to ask those childlike questions. Ask those questions like a child. That sits really close to my heart, because one thing is, right, if you lose the spirit of your childlike self, something might be missing for you. So love the way that you're framing that as a way to help continue to grow and to continue to expand that space. And Danita, it's such an honor to have you in here with us, looking at how you're changing those meeting structures. Everyone wants that secret sauce. You might get bombarded with some follow-ups here, but thank you so much. It's such an honor to have all of you here. If anyone has any follow-up questions, we do have to keep moving. Don't hesitate to let us know, and we will do our best to get those to Danita, Amanda, and Christina, and try to get some feedback from them. Such a pleasure to have you all. Thank you so much for being here.